Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With the Pro-Am Classic beginning tomorrow, the big discussion has been, after this event concludes, will teams go into a further Rostermania period? Some teams have been holding off on major changes during this mid-season break, but if this event doesn't go well for them and they fail to make another groups on Friday, by the time that Sunday comes around, we might well have some different teams in the league. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. On the verge of 78,000 subscribers. Just absolutely love to see it. Let's dive into a few things first of all. Thought this was kind of funny as well from Clayster, you know, shaking my head. If you're going to talk trash, at least have like a cojones to leave it up if I respond. So that's the thing. Some people, they talk trash on Clay and the like, and he gets back involved. It's always kind of funny with Clayster, right? Because I know a few days ago he was talking about the fact that he wasn't going to get involved with the whole Call of Duty soap opera, and now he's hitting this. Not sure this is about a pro player, so probably a slightly different story. But you know, still probably just someone in his DMs, and like you know, and then they don't respond, and then when he responds, right, it's the classic thing. The pros respond. He's like, oh, you know, big fan or whatever, classic stuff. Now, you know, this also just to mention, because there's been plenty of talk about the movement in this next game of Modern Warfare 2, what it's going to look like, whether it needs to change. Just, I thought this was kind of interesting, actually, what Clayster had to say on this, because it seems like in Halo, they've removed this. I don't know if you guys know about this, but in Halo, there's like a movement ability where if you jump from a height and land on a bit of a ledge, you can slide much longer than you normally would be able to. And apparently they've patched this out of the game, even though I think generally it's rather well liked by the community, like a bit of a skill gap, right? And that's the thing, as Clay says, a classic example of a developer team removing something universally loved and appreciated by its community, truly do not understand how decisions get approved by so many people that are just like, yeah, this is what needs to be changed. So maybe implying to a degree as well that some of the things, the way Call of Duty's gone the last several years in terms of the movement mechanics, haven't necessarily been with what aligns with what people actually enjoy, to be honest. It does seem to some degree the tide is turning on, you know, even in the more casual side, on the way that movement mechanics are within the game. Like, certainly there's been big frustration in the COD scene about the slide cancel and the tactical sprint. That's what Parasite and Bance even point out right here. Slide cancel isn't the worst mechanic in COD, it's tactical sprint. No debate. To me, back in Black Ops 4 or something, or even Cold War, like you could slide cancel, but I didn't think it was that much of a big deal with no tac sprint. But with tac sprint, it really annoys me, to be honest. That's just my perspective, but Bance agrees, tac sprint needs to be binned forever. So maybe if there's one change that they bring to the kind of movement system or whatever in Modern Warfare 2, they might maybe get rid of tac sprint, who knows. Slide cancelling and sliding is probably going to stay. Maybe it's slightly less strong than it used to be, but yeah, if tactical sprint goes, I think that'll be a good step, all things considered, and yeah, hopefully the developers are making some good decisions, which maybe the Halo guys aren't quite doing at the present time. Of course, the Pro-Am Classic coming up in a few days. Los Angeles Guerrillas looking to try and defend their crown. They have a decent chance to do so, actually, because they're over in there in Group D. If they win that, they play, of course, some of the teams from Group C, and arguably the teams in Group C are probably the weakest out of all the teams in the league, to be honest, right now. Or at least the teams in the most difficult spot, because you've got London there with a change, New York with a change recently, and Los Angeles Thieves with the role change, so those are teams it's very tough to predict. LAG, if they come in with solid search and destroy, they could make a run once again this tournament, there's no doubt about it. Of course, they play in a couple of days. There are other teams, though, that have been making moves, Los Angeles Thieves being one of them. I imagine they've been having some words about their role changes they're looking to make going into this event, and whether it's actually going to work out right. And of course, they always like to kind of do these headings that make it seem like they're making a roster change, whereas they're actually not. But who knows, maybe enable subs in this weekend and the team gets better. But yeah, lots of really to prove for Los Angeles Thieves. The pressure is very much on them this weekend, as it is on many other teams as well. And in that Group C, aBeZy actually believes last night, and we kind of ended up agreeing, that if there's one group that one of the amateur teams can get through, one of the challenger teams can get through, we believe it's probably Team War in Group C that's the best chance. Because in Group D, Ultra Academy NA are very good, but beating either Boston or LAG might be one step too far. Whereas in this group, we reckon the Team War can really give these guys a good go. So we shall see how it goes. But that is the thing for some of these teams, right? If you lose to an amateur squad and you go out of your groups on like Thursday or Friday, I guess Friday you'll have to go out, because even on Thursday you'd probably still have a chance, even if you were 0-2. But that is the belief right now, that a lot of teams actually have kind of held off making changes during this mid-season break to give their team one final run out at this Pro-Am Classic. And if it doesn't work out for them and they fail to get out of their groups, especially if they get beaten by an amateur squad, like a team that's not even in the Pro League, then all of a sudden probably further changes are going to go down. Teams will know if they're going to make moves potentially by Friday, and that's what Ben believes to have heard behind the scenes, that some of these teams are really considering changes, and they've said, okay, look, we'll give the mid-season break one final go with this team, and if it doesn't go well, now we're pulling the trigger after this event. Strange decision to do it after this event, to be honest, than doing it in the entire month off, effectively, that they had to make changes if they wanted to. But teams like Toronto, teams like the Minnesota Rokkr, there's many options that could be on the table there. We might well have some serious roster changes after this event if it doesn't work out as these teams are planning it to.
Let me give you kind of a scenario I think that might play out here, Pat, and what maybe teams like Minnesota and New York are thinking. The big domino that hasn't fallen yet in this Rostermania, what's going to happen with this Toronto Ultra team? Because if they don't make it out of groups in Group A and they make some big swaps, suddenly players who I think have a lot of trade value if they get benched, are going to be on the market at a significant buy low position. It's
But who,
cause
though?
some of these teams to think. Well, Cammy, for example.
Cammy and CleanX, if Cammy and CleanX are not getting benched, in my opinion, there's a 0% chance that either one of them get benched on this Toronto Ultra team. I'm not jumping the gun like just off the Pro-Am Classic.
I would normally agree with you, but as all things come in terms of roster moves, and some of these players on the Ultra Academy teams may be getting some interest. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that if they don't play well at this event, they potentially make a roster change. I think
they get more interest than they did during this month and a half break.
Well,
dude, this month and a half break told me everything I needed to know about the CDL and roster changes, and that's that no team is making moves that are like blockbuster buyouts or trades. That's what it told me.
I would say that, and Tom, I don't know if you've heard this, Sam. I think a lot of people are waiting until after this event for some of the panic button stuff that you're thinking
Why
about.
would you?
Why?
Yeah, maybe.
Why would you
I don't
wait
know
for the
why
Pro-Am
though.
Classic. We've already had 2 complete majors. Why would we wait after the month and a half
a great
break
question,
of
Pat.
nothing?
It's a great question.
Plus the Pro-Am Classic, which we all agree does not mean anything near as much as the main event.
So you're telling me, you're telling me that this is some player's last shot. Hey, buddy, we're throwing you in the Pro-Am Classic. This is your last shot.
I don't fully disagree with you guys, but that's the chatter I've heard, and that's why we've seen some moves. But I think that, again, this is an event where there's 3 CDL teams in every group. Someone of those CDL teams, 4 CDL teams, are not going to be in the tournament come end of the day on Friday. And so you look at some of these groups and some of the teams that made changes, and I could see why people are waiting, because they're making a couple of moves here. They're going to see if this makes sense in a little bit of a honeymoon thing. And if it's still looking like they're having the same issues, they may work to make further changes before you get in this major 3, major 4 run. Because keep in mind, CDL points are going to be up on offer soon. None at this event. But if you look at teams like a Minnesota or Toronto, you're sitting outside champ spot right now.
So, of course, New York and Minnesota Rokkr made changes going into this event, so they get to evaluate those changes. And if, one of those teams or both of those teams don't make it out of their group, then all of a sudden you've got to reconsider maybe what you're doing with this team. Now, Toronto Ultra, of course, the other team that's not right now making the World Championship, Paris we can discard because I don't really think they're doing all that much or considering that many changes. But Ultra, to me, surprised me by not making a change. But that's kind of has been the thought, the process, really, that look, if the team is going to make a change after this event, Toronto, I think, are probably in last chance saloon. If this team doesn't work out this event, then something's going to have to give. And honestly, that group A with FaZe and Surge is tough for Ultra, right? Like, if they go out of this group comfortably and they don't even look like putting up a good fight against Surge or FaZe, then probably something has to change. And if it does, one of the big players on that team, Cammy or CleanX, could be on the market. Other teams might be in the discussions for getting one of those players in, and then things could seriously change around if some of these teams are still not really sure with how things are going at the event. X reckons that Ultra aren't going to change, or they're certainly not going to drop CleanX or Cammy, and I think CleanX is probably safe, but yeah, to me, Cammy is certainly on the chopping block potentially at the very least, based on his performances so far this year. This is then how I see it really in these groups, because I kind of agree, and I think I've heard some things as well, that these teams aren't sold on sticking with their rosters through this event going into Major 3 as well. In fairness though, there's not much time off. These teams might theoretically be out of the groups on Friday, and then by next Friday, they're playing again in Major 3. So they don't really have that much time if they do want to make some serious changes to turn things around, but it's something that apparently they're looking to do. So anyway, Toronto in Group A, that is the team to me that is most likely, they're really on the verge right now. If they come out of this group comfortably, if they lose to StrikeX, it's absolutely chalked for this team, I imagine. But as I say, even if they comfortably lose to FaZe and Surge and fail to make it out of the groups in any way, they've probably got to do something with this team. Now, Group B, Minnesota Rokkr, they've kind of also said that it's very possible that they might make some further moves. They're not convinced this roster is 100% the one. They believe it is, but they had another roster iteration, which who knows what that could have been with MajorManiak in, or maybe Priestahh on the sub and Standy out, or whatever, alongside Havoc there. They might give that a go if they fail to make it out of their group here. And then Group C is the other group, really, where so many changes are possible, really, with Los Angeles Thieves in New York, because we saw what Clayster said last night, that he reckoned that, okay, he was dropping a 1.40 KD in all their hardpoint scrims in practice. If New York don't go well here and they fail to make it out of their group, is it possible that minus Crimsix plus Clayster comes through, and then Thieves as well? This is another chance for them, right? They've got to prove that this role change works. If it doesn't work out, and Kenny, doesn't drop the greatest numbers, Drazah doesn't improve, Octane's still looking a bit lost on the map, and they failed to make it out of this group, let's say Ravens and Team War come come out of this group. Like, both Thieves and New York really have to consider things, right? Especially if Toronto make a move, Minnesota make a move, there's agents, there's free agents on the market. Like, there might be a serious possibility that these teams change around, right? So it's kind of strange to me that the teams have left it this late, to be perfectly honest. Of course, like, Clayster's trying to get a spot back somewhere as well, but that's the thing. This entire month, it seems to have been doing trials, and like, they haven't really made that many moves. Minnesota and New York have, but I don't really think any of these moves the teams has made, even including Los Angeles Thieves with their role change, is going to be good enough to get these teams right to the top. It might be good enough to improve them a bit, but like, if all the teams in that kind of boat improve, right? Like, we look at the standings here. If all the teams in this boat improve, like, a little bit, they wouldn't really be improving much at all relative to each other, and therefore you'd imagine the point standings could stay somewhat similar, right? So these teams are going to have to improve significantly if they want to even make it to chaps. And if they don't show any progress towards that aim this weekend, then I really think that something could happen here, right? So very much intriguing your perspective on this. But yeah, the rumor has it right now that if this weekend doesn't work out for some of these teams, and as I said, there's quite a few teams in this category, we could well see some further changes. As I say that, like, some of these teams might be out of their groups on a Friday, like the next stage matches begin on next Friday, so there's not that much time to turn things around if they want to. It might be something that doesn't happen necessarily going right into Major 3, but negotiations could be ongoing and then coming through for like the second week of Major 3 qualifiers or something, to which point the teams actually, well, are looking to make some serious progress going into the World Championship and of course Major 3 and all that type of stuff. Because right now these teams are very much on the precipice, I think, of having to do something drastic if they want to make it all the way through. This also to mention I thought was pretty interesting for the rotation, the 12 teams of course right now that are in the Call of Duty League. Which other 4 cities would we like to see in? Because look, at the end of the day, there's no guarantee we're getting expansion. I don't know if there are going to be 4 organizations willing to put up 25 mil or whatever, because really they probably want more than 25 mil, right? Because the teams want to be able to say, okay, yeah, our spot is actually worth more now than it was before, so probably the CDL wants to charge 30 mil or something, which is going to be a tough sell, but we shall see, I suppose. Washington were meant to come in this season, turns out to be Boston instead, but like, I do hope we get some proper, like, well, maybe let's say traditional CDL organizations that get involved if this is the case. Whether they kind of, see actual value in it, that's another question entirely. But yeah, cities though, there's been plenty of talk about Vegas. I think that'd be a good one. Like, I don't really mind about the other ones that happen in the US or whatever. My real, like, hope is that we get a Madrid team. I do really want to see the Spanish community finally get a team and an organization that actually respects them in a way, right? And there's even been talk ahead to Paris sell and like, Heretics or some sort of Spanish organization buy out the Paris spots and use that for their Spanish team. Like, that'd be great, to be honest. Like, it's kind of frustrating, really. The Paris have made zero attempt to support their own region, and I'm sure the Spanish team, if they do come through, would do this. So that, to me, like, is the number one priority, really. If you do expand 4 more teams, one of them has to be in Europe. I think it's got to be Madrid. That's at least my perspective. Just wanted to mention this as well as we close out the video from Scump, because Lineman's been doing these awesome graphics and career kind of cards and stuff for, well, players' careers over the last several days. Scump's played in 93 tournaments, a series win-loss of 72%. That's pretty outrageous. Even map win-loss. I mean, imagine winning 2,000 odd maps in your career. That's just absurd. 41 at finals appearances, 30 tournament wins. That's a great record as well in finals at a 1.03 KT since the CDL era has come around. Thought this is kind of funny actually as well, because as Jacob says, playing 3,500 maps effectively is pretty crazy across his Call of Duty career. And I'm like, okay, you want yours, mate? Nah, too many second places. Nobody needs to know the finals appearance versus win. So 9 in 23 Lyman says, I'm guessing this is 9 wins out of 23 finals appearances. Like, I don't think 9 in 23, like, if Jacob's made 32 finals, that seems like quite a lot, right? If Scump's made 41 finals, Jacob's made 32 finals, that seems a bit much. So I imagine that he's made 23 finals, and he's won 9 of those, and he's lost 14 of those, which isn't the greatest record, but like, it's still kind of respectable. But I think, Jacob says, first off, I don't think it's quite that bad, but don't roast me so hard on the timeline, please. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tells your YouTube gods this is a good video, I just like you should see it as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.